Welcome back to another episode of the Next Is Now podcast. Got another prospect film room coming your way today. This one with top 15 rising senior Hudson Greer. Greer, who is announced will be headed down to Mount Verde for his final high school season next year. First, he'll be headed down to Peach Jam as a key part of a super talented JL3 EYBL team. Throughout the spring, he put up 16 points per game on that group that has four other top 150 prospects on the roster. He's got a super unique approach and overall game for a blue chip prospect, which we'll be breaking down a bunch more of. We're currently the highest in the industry on Hudson Greer, and I'm looking forward to diving into a bunch more of why here with Hudson. Let's get right into it. Hudson, appreciate you taking some time here between camps and prepping for Peach Jam. I know it's a busy time, so thank you for hopping on. Before we dive into some film, talk about your development, talk about your game, I wanted to zoom out a little bit. So for people who may not know you as well, tell me your basketball story. Where are you from? When did you start playing? And what's kind of been your path to getting where you're at now?
Ever since I was little, my dad put a ball in my hand, just playing in the backyard, playing on any hoop that I could find. Coming from Southern California, it was a great place to play pickup outside a lot of the time. So that was an awesome thing. And then I moved to Texas my 7th grade year, came here, and I wouldn't want to make any other decision than that. Just coming here, playing with a lot of kids that play football, getting that physical part of basketball in me. It was the best thing for my development.
Absolutely. So now more so on the floor. For people who haven't seen you play as much, how would you describe yourself as a player?
I'd say I'm outgoing and really open to new ideas and trying things. For me, at least off the court, I feel like Christ is a really big part of my life. Just letting that area, not dictate what I do in life, but lead me through my life. And also just when I can, hanging out with friends, having fun, not getting in trouble. Things like that.
No doubt. So the film we're going to dive into is first going to be your EYBL stuff. It's kind of going to be mixed in. EYBL stuff with JL3 as well as some portions from your junior season at Lake Travis. First, because it's been your first go around with them this spring and summer, I wanted to ask, what's it been like playing with that JL3 team?
They've been playing with the same guys have been playing with each other since 7th, 8th grade. So just putting me in there, them already having chemistry was a really easy fit. And then also just having those practices where John Lucas is present, and then along with workouts with John Lucas alone. Sky's the limit with things like that. I just couldn't thank him enough for wanting me to be there, and then just wanting to work with me and just getting better with them each and every day.
No doubt. So we're going to get into some film here. So before we kind of get into some of the different areas of your game, talk about some areas you're strong in, some areas you're developing and growing in, I just wanted to show you, pull up some of my favorite plays, just going through your film.
I gotcha.
So first two sets here are actually identical plays, you coming off pin downs. Here we go again. First one, come off, get right into your jumper. Second one, come off, drive a closeout, make a play for, I believe that's Meyer Reed with a big finish there at the rim. How comfortable are you coming off sets like this?
I just feel like it really opens up the court for me, because when the guy sets the pin down, I feel like I do a really good job reading whether I should pop out, drive, whether I should come off the first screen and curl. But in situations like these, when I have the ball in my hand, I feel like I can make a play for me or my teammates as well.
No doubt. So next one here, obviously, I don't know if you remember this play, but a big time hop step to get all the way down to the rim. I think you can kind of sense the weak side guys kind of teasing to come over and get that dig in to kind of cut off that drive on the left side. You come all the way back to the hop step. So what did you see here on this play to kind of convert at the rim here?
So with this, going over film with my coach, just their biggest thing is hole help. So with that being said, the other guy isn't going to drop over coming from the side that he was on. And he's either A, going to leave the corner open, or B, drop over to me. And considering this is high school ball, I don't think that a lot of guys can jump with me.
Mm-hmm.
But just with this play, I know number one isn't going to be able to stay in front of me. They have a little guard on me. And then when I get downhill, if that guy steps out way too far than he did, then I'm going to have an easy lane for a dunk.
No doubt. Yeah, we're going to get into a bunch more of the athleticism. I think the next one here is probably your biggest, missed highlight. I don't know if you remember this one.
Yeah.
What do you remember
Uh,
about this one?
so going into this game, it was a big game. I mean, it was kind of a deal where I think we were 1-1 at this point, and I mean, now we're set for Peach, but it was like, okay, we need to make some things happen so we can have a good schedule at Peach. But I mean, going into this game, we wanted to set the tone. I feel like I started off the game pretty well. I think I had 5 points going into this, and then drove baseline. I saw the dude that was going to jump with me, and I was like, dude, I jumped a little far. If I was a little more in, it would have been on his head, in my opinion. But I mean, I I still feel like I could have gotten this if I threw it in properly, but uh, I'm gonna keep trying. I mean, if he wants to jump, I'm gonna jump with him.
No doubt. So next few here, and I think to me one of the biggest appeals of your game is your feel for the game and just instincts off the ball. So some of these are more simple plays that you probably don't think too much about.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think just like for scouts, for college coaches at the next level, I think it makes it really easy for those people to kind of envision you at the higher levels because you're already doing those things.
Mhm.
Uh, so defensive end, offensive end, I think you just have an innate kind of feel for where the ball is going to be, certain
Mhm.
spots. Has that always kind of been natural for you, or has that been a learning process?
I definitely say I was younger, it was a learning process. I mean, growing up in California, a lot of guys like to play zone, and they used to stick me in the corner, and I would do a horrific job running baseline to baseline for my team and just sit in the corner there. But I mean, just talking to my coaches from there and now, I mean, moving without the ball is some of the, I like that block, but just moving without the ball, and it just makes the game so much easier. Cause I mean, of course, you're going to get opportunities of a handful of times of where you're going to get the opportunity to go ISO. But I mean, just getting those easy buckets out of the way and getting yourself in the flow of the game just makes it a whole lot easier.
Absolutely. A big piece in terms of scaling up to higher levels to me is just how you can translate playing off the ball, like we talked a little bit about. We'll get into some more extensive off-ball stuff here, but are there any guys that you like to study at any level who kind of do these types of things?
I mean, off the ball, I definitely say Duncan Robinson. The way he just floats around the perimeter. Sometimes he'll cut, but the way he just goes around and makes plays for him and his teammates. And then I definitely say on the ball this past year, Dalton Connect I really liked.
Hmm.
Just the way. I mean, he definitely played both, but I mean, just watching film of him throughout the years, just him coming off the pin downs, whether it's on the left or the right side, and coming back around for a wonderful pull up. I mean, he just made the game seem so simple, and I wanted to pick up a few things from him.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison that I actually hadn't thought of too much. But I think even if you go back to his older days, you probably haven't seen too much when he was in Northern Colorado. But playing off the ball, coming around screens, and kind of like he had so much gravity. The defense was shifting his way so fast. He really had to grow as a cutter and off ball guy in that league. And I think like a lot of that stuff is a really good model for you as well.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see a bunch of clips here kind of showcasing your athleticism. Since the first time I saw you with Southern Assault between your freshman and sophomore year, you have
Mm-hmm.
kind of always had that explosiveness. But at what point did your athleticism really kick in?
Um, I'd probably have to say going into my junior year, I really just staying in the gym all summer, being like, oh, let me try this. And then eventually just got to the point where, I mean, I don't want to stay off that rim anymore. So just being able to have those things happen for me and working on it with my trainer and trying to get as bouncy as I can. Cause I mean, I definitely feel like I can get even more bouncier now that I'm going to be in the weight room a little bit more, especially at Montverde.
No doubt. I wanted to ask about playing alongside guys like Sheldon Henderson and Sebastian Williams Adams, both who just get downhill and tilt defenses super, super easily. How
Yeah.
much has it opened up for you to be able to just fly off ball and make plays?
I mean, I feel like they're one of the best in the country at doing that. And I feel like our games complement each other well, whether it's them driving it to kick out three or it's them driving me cutting. I mean, I feel like all of our guys on our team are selfless, but I mean, those guys are the selfless of the selfless. They make plays for each other. They make plays for me. I mean, no one really cares as long as at the end of the day, our number on the scoreboard's higher than the other teams.
No doubt. Yeah, and I think even being able to dive into some more of your film at Lake Travis too, like you brought up the selfless stuff. Like you guys had a very selfless team there. You guys just really spread the ball out and
Yeah.
made players for each other. So yeah, I think that shined through with both groups. But did you kind of feel the same throughout the high school season too, in just terms of like how you guys played together?
I definitely say so because I mean, a lot of those seniors I played with for the past 3 years, and we really formed that relationship. And it was kind of like make or break time. Like it was unfortunate the way we lost, but I mean, going back to that, I definitely feel like we wanted to win it all, and wouldn't have wanted to do it any other way with it, unless it was with those guys. And just going into the season, getting a new coach, everyone was happy, and I mean, the vibes were all time high.
No doubt. Let's get into some shooting here. I think oftentimes people can kind of singularly like tab you as a shooter, but I actually think a lot of your appeal comes from all of the other things that you do. But still, shooting's a key piece of your development long term. So when you're shooting the ball at a high clip, whether it's mechanically, whether it's from a mindset standpoint, what are some things that you're doing well?
I mean, something I need to keep working at is it's not even really my shot. It's making sure that my feet are squared to the basket. Because I mean, if my feet are squared and I'm on balance, I feel like it can go in at any point in given time. And just the biggest thing is giving that ball a chance to go in the hoop. Because I mean, if my feet are not in the right position, then my elbow might be out in it, and that's the last thing I need.
No doubt. Are there any, you brought up some guys, but are there any shooters you like to kind of model your game after or pick up things from?
I mean, just like mechanically, I definitely say Duncan Robinson. When he does shoot is really elevated and no one can get to his shot. Or it's JJ Redick, the way he uses his footwork, getting around screens and rising up faster. Hey, if the shot's not there, get off it. Go set a screen somewhere, things like that.
Absolutely. Every guy is kind of different with it, but do you think you're more comfortable right now shooting off the catch or shooting off the dribble? Because with throwing in a mix of both here.
Yeah. I mean, it really just depends. I felt like no knock to my high school guys, but I definitely felt like there were times where the pass off the catch and shoot were the best passes. So just creating for myself, it just felt easier. But then in high school, I mean, in AAU, those guys are throwing really good passes and it's easy for me to get set up. So I definitely have to say that during AAU, it's been much easier off the catch and shoot, especially when everyone's attention is on Sheldon and Sebastian when they're going downhill.
Yep. Kind of a twofold question here, but what do you think your next steps developmentally are as a shooter are? And then the second part is, what do you think it opens up for the rest of your game?
I mean, I feel like when I shoot, I need to shoot a little more over the top. Not that my shot's a push shot or anything, but just really getting my shot up and making it not unblockable, but very hard to contest to, kind of like how Don Connect shot is, how he falls through all the way at the top. And then I feel like with that, I mean, that opens up a really good shot fake for me, being able to just get downhill and set up for my teammates after that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely like kind of when you've been at your best. You can see it a lot in high school too. Just like when you're able to drive these closeouts, and we'll get in some passing, but make a play for someone else, draw a free throw, finish at the rim, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think especially with this JL3 group, most of your creation here, which we'll get into here, kind of comes driving those closeouts as well as in transition, things like that. But what has been your growth in terms of creating on the ball, and what do you think are some next steps?
I mean, I feel like in this clip right here, I do a really good job of creating space off a little bump step and then getting the defense off balance. But I mean, really just simplifying the game. I mean, there's no reason for me to go down the court taking 5 dribbles trying to beat a dude. I mean, off the dribble. I mean, it's one move and then a counter. And if it's not there, just getting off of it and really just making the game simpler. And I mean, sure, it looks cool for the cameras, but I mean, from time to time, I mean, it just doesn't get the job done.
Absolutely. And this is a good example here too, and there's a few more, but I think you do a really, really good job just operating off of these pivots to kind of create space, whether it's to get all the way downhill to your Euro, things like that, or just to create space for your jumper. Has that been a focus for you developmentally?
I mean, ever since I was little, I feel like the best move out there was a jab step. I mean, my dad used to harp on it all the time, saying how I don't jab step and shot fake enough to get the defense off balance. But I mean, just using that as my advantage. I mean, you don't always have to try and be Kyrie and break the dude down. I mean, a simple jab step to the right or the left is going to be suffice, and just really trying to get the defense off balance and make a play for yourself the simplest and safest way.
No doubt, absolutely. I think it's definitely a lost art, and I think a lot of top guys too. It's just something that comes along later for most of them, but being able to kind of own things like this, where it's just simplifying the game. Like you're not wasting any motion, not wasting any dribble. It's just able to get downhill. Just because you're able to get this guy on his heels really easily.
Agreed.
What do you think? I kind of something that popped up to me as a note here, and I think you did a good job in high school of it, and I think in EYBL it's kind of been on and off, and I know there's been injuries, things like that. But what do you think the next step is for you to be able to generate more attempts all the way at the rim?
I mean, just going to what you're saying, like how can I get more attempts at the rim? Is that the question?
Yeah.
I mean, just going with JL3, John's really been pushing me to be taking more outside shots just for my development. But I mean, for me at least, just figuring out the right time to drive. Because I feel like a lot of the time there was a pass clip where I drove and I got a great floater. But I mean, the big was coming up to send me a screen, and it was great that I got the layup. But I mean, it just wasn't the right time. But I mean, just reading the defense and how they're moving and seeing where the open lanes are and really attacking those lanes, because I mean, it just makes it so much easier.
No doubt. And I think you do a great job, and we'll probably talk about it a little bit more, but just playing off 2 feet, kind of getting into guys. And I think probably the next step to me that pop for is just naturally getting stronger. Once you're able to play through, it's a little bit easier. You're going to be able to create more space off moves like that. And that's a high level defender too, and Davian Atkins too. So
Yeah.
You've shown the ability to do it, but I think it's something like just as you develop more physically, it's something that's going to come.
For sure.
Transition stuff here. Obviously, Sebastian and Shelton are two of the very, very elite transition guys in EYBL and in the country in general. But I think you do a great job whenever you're able to just play in fast tempo settings, play up tempo. Is that something at the next level, whether in your recruitment, that you're kind of looking for?
I mean, for sure. I don't really want to go to a school that we have a fast break, we're going to pull back out and we're going to run a half court set every single time down and grind it out. Like, I mean, if the shot's there, and let's keep this thing rolling. Let's put the defense on our heels. Cause I mean, it just makes the game so much simpler. It leaves less pressure on the coach. Ultimately that's how highlights happen. Just getting the ball down the court, getting the audience on their feet. But I mean, it also just opens up so many opportunities for you and your teammates to really do a good job there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, it's kind of a personnel thing, and I don't think every group can necessarily do it. But I think just watching your stuff in those games with the EYBL around two guys who can just push tempo so easily, both of them can just grab off the glass and handle all the way down the rim. I think it's kind of unlocked another level for you, even whether you're filling the lane, playing like off a turnover, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
A few more transition plays here, and I think it's a lot of them are very good looks at your athleticism as well. But I wanted to get into a little bit of your playmaking stuff, because I think it's something that you haven't always really been able to show, but I think long term it's something that you have a ton of upside with, because I think you can really process like moving defenses at a really high level. How comfortable, I would say, do you feel making reads as a playmaker getting downhill?
I mean, when I get downhill, I feel like it's one of the easier things for me to do, because I mean, definitely one thing I want to work on is like on that pass right there. I mean, it was a great shovel pass to Sebastian, but I mean, it could have been even better if it was a bounce pass, because I mean, the defense would have had no shot in getting that ball. So I wouldn't say necessarily knowing when to pass, but the right type of pass to make and at what time, I feel like is a big thing.
No doubt. Yeah, you have a lot of these here where it's just driving a closeout, playing off 2 feet, making an easy dump off. You've talked a little bit about like your dad talking about playing off pivots at a young age. Has been playing off 2 feet been a focus for you? Because I think you do as good of a job as just about anyone with it at an early stage.
I mean, I definitely feel like I get caught sometimes trying to out athletic people and try and show my athleticism. Like that one dunk attempt I tried to have. I mean, it was cool for the cameras and all, but I mean, I could have just jump stopped, stepped through, and got a layup. But I mean, just being able to play off 2 feet just makes the game so much simpler, and it puts you in less of a bind, if you know what I mean. Just not being forced to turn the ball over. And I mean, if it's not a shot, if it's not a pass, they can just kick it back out so easily.
Yeah, absolutely. You talked a little bit about that in terms of just making simple plays. I think you did a great job of it, especially during the high school season where you obviously had quick rotations coming your way, you had double teams sometimes, things like that, where you really had to make them pay in different ways.
Yeah.
What's been the learning curve for you with that?
I mean, just going in this past year, like Travis Brandon Shaver did a great job just getting me to stay under control and really just be patient with the guys. Because I mean, not to say anything, but I mean, there's definitely a curve with my learning versus regular high school kids learning. I mean, it just is
Sure.
what it is. But just staying patient and understanding, like, hey, you don't just have to be a scorer. You can facilitate for us. You can rebound for us. I mean, for us to win, it was kind of the deal where I mean, you got to fly around the court and do everything you possibly can for us to try and win.
Last piece I wanted to dive into with is just your hands, your activity, like your defensive activity, and just how you see the floor, defensively, your reaction time, things like that. Did you play football or any other sports growing up? Because you have really, really good hands, and I think it shines through in a bunch of different ways in your game.
I mean, I played football 1 year here in Texas, and I mean they do it different down here. After a middle school season of football, I had to tap out. I always blame it on my dad about how he didn't let me, but it was ultimately me. But I mean, just growing up, I mean, in California, we played a lot of flag football down there, and really just, I mean, they always put me at safety, and I mean, I just felt like just being able to read guys, and I mean, it also helps with basketball.
Yeah,
And then also just going through and playing so much basketball, the amount that I do, I feel like you see a lot of the same things reoccur. So just realizing like, hey, this is what I do in this situation and things like that.
yeah. It shines through in a play like this too, and you have a ton of plays like this. Just clipped a few here. But when did you kind of sense that your basketball IQ, your instincts were kind of ahead of the curve compared to the guys you were playing with?
Um, I mean, I'd probably say honestly, I felt it a little bit when I was younger, but I definitely say my freshman year, just playing on varsity. Not, I mean, honestly, I didn't know if I was gonna play or not. I mean, the coach, not no hate on the coach, but he wasn't known for playing freshmen and just going in and as soon as because it was a different coach than it is now. But I mean, just realizing that hey, you need to do the little stuff for him to notice because he was an old school kind of coach. And once I started doing those things, a lot of those guys stopped doing those things. So just staying with it and realizing like, hey, if I just make the simple play here or I do the little thing here on the other end, it just makes my life so much easier.
For sure. You talked a little bit about it too. Like, I think your responsibilities with Lake Travis on both sides were super, super widespread. Like, you were asked to do a ton.
Yeah.
But in what ways do you think that's kind of helped you developmentally? Because, like, here, this isn't truthfully a role as like a backline defender defending Davian Adkins, a 6'8", like rim runner. That's probably
Yeah.
not going to be something you're doing long term. But how has that
Yeah.
just helped you learn how to do different things?
I mean, just going out there and having no fear. I mean, Davion could have tried to put it on my head, but I'm gonna go and try and block it on the other end. I mean, just like making plays for each other, doing whatever it takes to win. But I mean, this past year, I feel like I did a really good job of waiting in the lane, and thankfully, there were a decent amount of guys that weren't as athletic as me, so it allowed me to be a real rim protector for our team.
No doubt. A lot of these plays, just in terms of the off-ball stuff, your instincts, your ability to like kind of just see things before other guys do at an early stage, reminds me of former Montverde guy from Texas too, Liam McNeely. Has that been a guy that you've studied in any ways or and picked up things from?
Oh, for sure. Just going back to when I was in middle school and he was going into high school, just really looking at him and being like, hey, what does he do that I need to work on? And I mean, I feel like at this point right now, I feel like no harp on him or anything, but I feel like I'm a decently more athletic than he was. And I mean, he's stronger than me and he's a better shooter than I am right now. But I mean, just two guys I feel like that have a real good feel for the game. And I mean, I feel like I can ask him about anything on the court. I mean, going to Montverde, I asked him like, yo, where do I get my haircut? And just like, what are some things I need to know? And so that was a good experience.
Yeah, and I think similarly between the both of you guys, it's just like your competitiveness just jumps off the page. And it seems like we talk about instincts and all these different things off the ball, but half the battle is just playing hard and being consistent with your motor.
Yeah.
Have you always just had that competitive edge to your game and that motor?
I'd say there was definitely a point in time where it was. I'm trying to think. This was probably fifth or sixth grade. I was playing a game and for whatever reason, I didn't like make a reaction or anything, but my coach was just on my butt about something. I was just like, okay, if he wants to do this, I'm just gonna play as hard as I possibly can. And I mean, good things happen for me. So just going off of that and just running with it and just being, whether that's diving on the floor for a loose ball or it's on the other end trying to lock someone down and beat them to a spot. I mean, just playing as hard as I possibly can, like my hair's on fire, just makes it so much easier.
No doubt. So appreciate you jumping through some film with me. Last thing before we get out of here, I wanted to finish on this. Just over the last year, I think you've definitely asserted yourself as just one of the most promising prospects in the class of 2025. But a big piece, like we've talked about a little bit here, is moving up levels and learning how to play different roles, and at times like sacrificing your usage and things that you're used to kind of impact winning. So what's kind of your mindset in terms of adjusting to handling different duties, whether it's next year in Mount Verb because your role is going to be different, or at the college level and beyond that?
I mean, just I feel like for me, as long as we're winning, I could care less what we're doing. I mean, if we're winning and I'm averaging 8 points per game, we're winning. As long as I'm not like shooting air balls and doing stuff like that in my game. But I mean, just really all I care about is winning, honestly. I mean, if everyone's winning, the guy that's on the bench, if we win PCM, the last guy on the bench is going to go somewhere. Like, everyone wins in that scenario. So just really making sure that in terms of high school this year, just making sure that my guys have the opportunity to be taken care of after college, or trying my best to, and things like that.
Definitely. And I think it connects to a lot of just the Mount DNA and things that they look for, especially in guys that are rising seniors. So wanted to end on that. What kind of drew you, your family, to Mount Vernon in terms of preparation for college, and just why was that the right move for you right now?
I mean, their pedigree speaks for themselves. I mean, just really seeing I mean, they probably won 8 of the 10 last national championships, I think it is, some stupid number like that. And just talking to Coach Boyle in Atlanta and just realizing what he's about. I mean, as soon as I had a conversation with him, I realized, hey, I'm all in. I mean, for me, I feel like no knock on high school or anything, but I mean, there's definitely times where you're in practice and you're just like, dude, what? Like, it's not that I don't want to be here, but I definitely wish the competition level was a little higher. So just making that jump and trying to prepare as best I can for my freshman year. I mean, of course, there's going to be a learning curve when I get there, but I mean, Boyle runs his system like it's college. I mean, the practices are hard, everything's hard, but I mean, everyone that goes there is there for it. Everyone, I mean, just talking to him about their chemistry off the court and on the court, just whether that's going to a different sporting event with everyone, asking if they can have practice earlier so that they can go do some things with each other. And I mean, of course, they had each other for 2 or 3 years at that point, but I mean, just it's a real brotherhood there.
No doubt. Hudson, thank you again for the time. Appreciate you hopping on here, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.